Welcome everyone to this evening's talk. If you're watching this live, welcome. Thank you for being here. Hopefully it's not as windy where you are, but up here in Edinburgh, it is extremely windy. I would love to introduce Kerry McKay. And did I say that right, Kerry?
You did? Yes.
So welcome, Kerry. This is the second time we've actually done a talk together. So I'm really grateful for your time because I know life is full, even in January, right?
I
It
know.
is full. I'll give you a slightly formal intro. So I've just written down in my notes here, yoga and holistic well-being expert and Ayurvedic coach. Um, how do those titles sound? Did you want to expand on that and add anything else into your
They make me
intro?
grin. Thank you very much. They make me grin. Um, yeah, and as you make those statements, like the word that comes to mind is balance. Like all any of us want in life is balance, and I help people to find that balance, and it's the right balance for the individual. It's not one size fits all. So it's really a listening process to the wisdom that you already have within you and noticing the signs. The body tells you everything that you need to know.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. And I think what I appreciate about how, because we all have to kind of somehow, like when people say to me, "What do you do?" And I say, "I teach yoga." And then they're like, "Where do you teach?" And I'm like, I don't actually have that many classes because I do all this other stuff, right? So it's so hard to group under one label or one title what it is that we do or that you do or that anyone does. And that's why I so appreciate you offering up your time, because I find that when I listen to people talk about what they do or what they love to do and why they do it, it expands so
Mm.
much and gives an easier understanding. I know last time we spoke, you discussed the word coach, that you're an Ayurveda coach, because really a lot of time people know, like I know in Ayurveda, and I'll ask you about Ayurveda in a moment, what I'm meant to be doing, but I don't do it. So it's the coach that I need. And I appreciate you kind of stressing that point.
Yeah, and because Ayurveda can, in the West at least, become quite an intellectual process, and it really doesn't need to be, in that. And if you learn all about the rules and the guidelines and what you should be doing and the theory, that doesn't mean you're going to change your behavior. So a coach helps you to actually apply the wisdom.
Yes. So
And that
before we,
I
oh, go
love.
on.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I love. Yeah.
So before we go any further into that, I mean, there's loads of little points I want to touch upon today, linking it to the retreat as well, but what you also do in life. Do you want to share a little bit for anyone that's listening now or in the future? Like what is Ayurveda? In a, can you? Because when
In
people ask me, I'm like, well, it's I'll often quote what I've read, but it's like, oh, it's a wellness system based on your type of personality, etc. But it is so much more than that in a way.
well, okay, what's coming to mind right now is it's the art of living in alignment with who you truly are. And also it's important to say it's the traditional Indian system of living and well-being and health.
Mm.
So it's an Indian root, it's very ancient, and it has different aspects to it. So the foundation of it is how you live creates your wellness. So it's the pillars of health, such as good rest, good diet, and so on, and awareness and living your purpose. So living in an Ayurvedic way, and obviously it's an Indian system, but it would be the same. We're in Britain, living in a way that attunes to our particular location is what it is. Not about us trying to attune to an Indian location. So living in alignment with where you are and who you are. And so that hopefully is enough to create lifelong well-being. But then if things do go out of balance, there is a system of treatment in Ayurveda. So that's sort of a separate thing where you redress issues through Ayurvedic treatments, which is herbs, cleansing practices, and so on. So you've got the creating your wellness first. Do that. And then if there is anything needed, that comes in second stage. But also there are obviously lots of lifestyle tweaks that bring you back to well-being, and maybe you don't need any actual intervention, if you like. So at the end of that I'm at is the lifestyle medicine side of it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that, because so much of, I'm just writing some notes, so much of how we live here or in the UK, in the West, is the other way around, I find a lot of the time. Like something occurs, we'll go and see, what do I need for this? What do I need to take for this? Rather than often looking at our lifestyle choices. And I know that with kind of where I am currently with my health and my age, 47, and I've been dancing around, what's the best way forward at this time of life, and I've really taken the time to look at kind of my lifestyle. What do I eat? What do I drink? How do I plan my days? Do I get out in nature? All those things. And I think Western medicine is fantastic. However, I've noticed that, as you said, lifestyle medicine, tweaking things has made huge differences that I could have easily gone and got some medication for, or whatever it is that, is prescribed.
Yeah, and I still even now fall into that trap of trying to fix myself with a surface remedy, like whether it's a herbal one or a modern medicine one, and yeah, obviously there are amazing benefits to modern medicine, but often I end up having to come straight back to the root, and in Ayurveda, the root is always the mind. So that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. So everything starts as an imbalance in the mind. So Ayurveda identifies 7 stages of the disease process. The first one is an imbalance in the mind that then creates an imbalance in your energy and then your behavior and so on and so on. And it's actually quite obvious, really. But so that's the way around it works. So the longer we don't bring balance back in, the further along what unfortunately you might call the disease pathway you go. And so modern medicine comes in right at the end when symptoms occur. So you've got all of that history. It's harder to fix it. Whereas if you are attuned to the early warning signs, then you're coming in to rebalance like what much earlier in the process. And it's so life-changing. Absolutely. So, before I really lent into Ayurveda, I was already doing everything. I thought, I was already a yoga teacher, I was already into healthy eating, I was fit, I was meditating, I was doing what I thought was everything. And Ayurveda has just it's like the missing piece of it's that self-awareness actually that really is, and acting earlier before you have symptoms. And if you have symptoms, then it's just a clearer sign.
Because of course Ayurveda, and we'll get on to everything else that you do as well in a moment, and of course nature, but Ayurveda, like many holistic, if I can refer to it in that kind of group of holistic therapies, you don't have to be poorly or unwell or anything like that in order to participate in it.
Yeah,
which I love. Like it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. So it's like as you said, living in alignment with who you are, and that's an everyday practice. And when we're out of sync with that, I know that definitely when I've made a decision in life, and and it's been out of alignment with my values and vision and principles, I feel it in the body. It might just be like a bit of tension, or it might be a bit of a headache, or it might be my gut might feel a little upset, but I start to feel it in the body, and then I can be in choice about how I then deal with that, right? Do I have a glass of wine, which is sometimes okay? Do I go for a walk in nature, which would probably resolve it a little better in the long run? And so that brings me, because obviously you do a lot of other stuff, and one of the thing that connected us really was when I went to visit Loch Lomond, when I went to visit Ardoch, Lindsay, who is the assistant manager there, was like, if you need anyone that knows the area and knows wellness, Kerry McKay, get in touch. And so that is how we started chatting, and that is how your participation in the retreat came about. So I'd love to know, just to keep checking my notes, you live near Loch Lomond or in the Loch Lomond area, right?
Mhm.
And are you from there, or what, or did you move there? What attracted you to the area?
Yeah, so I live in Helensburgh, which is a town on the sea, which is about 15 minutes drive from Balloch, which is the bottom of Loch Lomond. So it's really close. Um, I've lived here for about 10 years. And before that, I was living further west in the Loch Gilphead area, which is Mid Argyll, Loch Fyne. Um, so I moved west, I guess, from the Edinburgh area maybe about 20 years ago, not sure, ages ago anyway. And it's very hard to leave once you've become a Westie, especially if you have high Vata, which is an Ayurvedic term, which means a lot of airy energy, which so we have Vata Pitta Kapha, which is the one way to view like types of personality in a way. So Vata being air, more air, dry, cool, Pitta being more fiery, Kapha being more earth and watery. So because the West Coast is moist, it's one of the reasons why I've just like stuck here in that many times I've been like, I'm going to move back to the Edinburgh area, and it's like I just don't do it. Like the air is so cold, it's windy, the sky. I would be so ungrounded. I'm living near so much water, like so much water falling out of the sky right now, but there's water everywhere. So if you're very high Vata, you might end up on the west. So I absolutely love it here because I love mountains and I love water. And so Helensburgh itself was in a way my kind of compromise because it is nearer the central belt, but it's still all the beauty in the Loch Lomond area is really, really close. So
Mm.
yeah, it's a little bit of my background.
I love that. I've never even thought of like living. That's never even crossed my mind. Like, obviously, I'm drawn to places. Um, I mean, I love Edinburgh. I want to stay in Edinburgh, but I've definitely noticed like the breath here because it's quite damp for me. It's like I actually saw a practitioner recently. He's like, "How's your breathing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm a runner." And I was like, really like, God, yeah, it really is different to what it was when I've lived in other places. But I never thought of looking at where I live through kind of the lens of
Mm.
your makeup as a person. Because I think I'm Pitta Kapha. So I'm quite more grounded, earthy, heavy, but a little bit fiery as well. Not so much now. So I'm gonna, oh, my poor husband, if he's like over there thinking we are not
We're not
moving. We're
unless
not moving. He's like, I don't care what your type is.
it's just
So I love, oh God, I love that connection, how what you do is kind of where you live as well. And so you'll be on the yoga retreat for the day. And, as someone, I've visited the area a few times, and even just driving there, I was blown away. And so you're going to be a guest facilitator on the retreat. We're going to go for a day trip out on the loch and around. And did you want to share a little bit about how your work will show up in that experience for people?
Yeah, and thank you so much for inviting me to be with you in the group for a day. And it's my favorite thing to do, like show people what I love about this area. And so our dock is really close to the bottom of Loch Lomond. the venue, and it kind of, the view is right up Loch Lomond, and it's an enormous loch, and the bottom of it is lots of islands, and it's quite wide at the bottom, and so it's this stunning kind of long vista with all the mountains in the background. And we're going to go on a boat to the north end and go across to the other side to a place that a lot of people don't go to because it's a woodland nature reserve. And the boats are very calming, depends on the weather, but it's just a sort of slow kind of chug and a low hum of the engine. And once people get on the boat, it's usually just bliss from then on. And the views are amazing. So we'll just be, we'll be chatting and connecting. But obviously I know the area quite well, so there'll be lots of, chance to kind of just talk about what we're seeing. And then we're going to land on the shore of the eastern side, and there's a brilliant waterfall, which sometimes people like to get wet in. And then we'll basically walk through this woodland reserve. And usually when we go for a walk, often we're just chatting or looking at what we see, but not really connected with our bodies and not necessarily really being mindful about really being there. And so I'm going to be kind of helping to facilitate this way of being fully with all of the senses, so that the experience is more embodied and more connected with nature and also like with each other. So we'll do some practices. So sometimes I guide people to spend some time with a tree, for example. What we actually do on this day, we'll see how it feels, or maybe some mindful walking. There's a lovely viewpoint that we can go up to. We might do a little bit of yoga or meditation. So there's just, it's simple and fun, but just something slightly more than just going for a walk in the woods.
Mm, mm. That's
And
brilliant.
I just think people, when I guide events like that, I really see a change in people from the beginning and the end. Initially,
Mm,
your energy might be quite up and it's sort of slightly out of yourself and you're kind of having fun. But then if you can come back and be fully in your own body and your heart and your breath, as well as being engaged with where you are and who you're with, it's just a deeper experience. So that's what we'll be doing, is being out there and flowing with what the weather's like, and and the things that happen, because you can't control nature at all.
yes,
So
yes,
we might need to be
brilliant.
waterproofs, we might need bikinis, we don't know.
Yes, and I will do a little disclaimer here that this is what we're hoping to do. However, it is Scotland, so we'll also have a few other plans just in case. And like you say, you just can't control nature, and that's one of the reasons that I'm so drawn to this area, that it's something that I don't know anything about, and it is just that kind of sense of surrender in a way,
Yeah,
really, really being connected with the elements. um I'm going to talk on another I'm going to do another talk about why, a lot of the reasons why I'm hosting this retreat. But I do want to share just briefly that the one of the reasons I'm hosting it is, well, the main reason I'm hosting it is because of where it is. Like when Chris and I arrived at the venue at Arddock, I was like, God, I can see why weddings are so busy here. Because if you arrive there with your fiance to look around it for weddings, you just be like, booked, sign me up. It's so stunning. But another part of the reason I'm hosting it is really what you just said, this sense of connection. And I love hosting yoga retreats so much. And sometimes they're quite quiet, quite grounded. A lot of the times they are quite lively, especially since we had the lockdown period. I find a lot of people visit in bigger groups. This one most people have booked individually, although they know a friend or someone coming. But quite often I'll get at the moment like a few triples, a quad on. So there's quite a lot of noise sometimes in the really, really big groups. Like the other week I was on one with 30 people. So that this retreat, I want there to be a sense of connection to others and nature, but also this connection to self and this sense of listening. And I feel that like with your work, because I am quite chatty and I do kind of get the party going a little bit. So I think like having you there to kind of almost rein it in, but keep it quite grounded and connected to the purpose of why we're doing it. And then Christopher, my husband, is going to be doing an art session, which really is about listening, but also seeing. And then if people want to participate, Marina will be doing Akashic Records, which goes kind of beyond this kind of what we're in right now and a different sense of listening. So I love how your work really is kind of the anchor in the middle, that connection to the nature, because we can look at it, but to actually be in it and listening to it, I think is so important.
And I love that. Like, yeah. And if we do want to party, like, listening, having a habit of listening is essential to love partying, to be able to let go, to know how to let go. And the connection to nature connects you with the seasons, and then connecting with the seasons enables you to stay in balance throughout the year. And that's fundamental to your wellness. And it's not difficult, it's not rocket science, but it requires the barriers to connection to be removed. And so you don't really need to know anything, you just need to remove the barriers to connecting with what's going on within you and around you. So that's where a day in nature, in a way, can actually change you forever.
Yes, and I'm reading a book actually for this one's book club. He had more than a day in nature. He had about 5 years, I think. It's a book called Finding Hildesay. I hope I said that right. Hildesay. It's this chap who his life, is kind of, it's a true story, kind of falling apart, and he sets off on this walk. But he basically walks all around the UK, like all around the coast. He's in Scotland at the moment, does all the islands in Scotland. I'll send you the title, and it's basically his journey of really basically understanding what life is about. But every day he is in the elements. He does talk a lot about the midges in Scotland as well. But sounds, I'm definitely more quite happy with Ardok and its beautiful bedrooms than being in a tent. But he really is in nature, and it's taught him how to live his life. So I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to double check my notes. I think we've talked a lot about the retreat and how you're participating, which I love, and a little bit about what you do, sorry. So I'd just love to see where we have time. Perfect. So I'd love to just ask if you wanted to share where people can find you at the moment, how people can find you. I noted down, I saw your email about the Thrive Wellbeing Coaching Program that's starting in March. And so if people don't want to wait until Ardok, or if they're not coming on the retreat for any reason, they're watching this in the future, I'm interested in your work anyway. So did you want to share a little bit about what else you've got going on, and if people can find you between now and June?
Yeah, thank you for that. So my website is kerrymackay.com. So KerryMckay.com. So that's the first place to look me up. And also there's a button on my website inviting you to book a chat with me. So anyone's very welcome to do that, to find out more about, in a way, I just hold space to help people to see where they're in or out of balance and what they want to be different in those conversations. Yeah, and so my Thrive Wellbeing course for women is my flagship program. It's an online group coaching program, and it's a year long, and it's basically about embedding everything we've just talked about into life. So it's Ayurvedic habits, and it's all of the emotional and mindset work required to make the changes. And because it's a group process, it's just incredibly connecting and bonding. And so that's starting in March, and it runs at sort of on a seasonal basis. So if anyone's interested in that, I really like to talk to you soon, because there's a process to get ready and it's a small group. And yeah, I'm excited about a new intake for that. And the other thing I've got coming up is I guide a lot of deep rest relaxation in the form of yoga nidra. And in a way, that's one of my kind of real specialities, which is like meditation, except it's very much more about kind of lying down and surrendering rather than being an active process. And people often use an audio to practice this. And practicing yoga nidra has really changed my life as well, and it just changes you without you having to do anything. So I create audios, and I also guide live yoga nidras, and I've got a new live online nidra circle starting for the sort of the opening up of the year into spring. So that's very low cost. It's donation basis, and it's starting in February. So that's kind of now. I haven't actually got it online yet, but I will soon. So yeah, I'll send you the link when I've got it for people to join that. And it's a monthly online yoga nidra practice on Zoom.
Brilliant. Thank you. I
Yeah.
love that. I love how you've created that container of 12 months. And I think, just to kind of wrap it up, that is why I love doing retreats. Especially this one where I feel like we're away, we're in somewhere new, we're in nature, but we've got this container of like 4 days. Everyone's got their own container of their own bedroom. No one has to share. No sharing, just your own bedroom, your own bathroom. So I
Like,
love how
facilities there are so gorgeous. It's such a luxurious, beautiful space. It really is.
I'm excited for it. I'm excited. So thank you for sharing about your program. I love that 12-month kind of container of looking after self.
And therefore it can be seasonal as well, because you need to create balance in each season, which is a different kind of
Mm,
process. Yeah. No quick fix,
brilliant.
but it's
I know.
sustainable change for life.
Exactly, exactly. Oh, well, thank you so much. I'll just give it 1 second in case anyone has any questions. If you have any questions, if you're listening live. So, no. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll wrap this up and we'll stay for just a brief minute after. So if you're watching this now, thank you so much for being here. Kerry, thank you so much for your time. I'm excited. It's coming soon. I can feel it. I can feel it on its way. And if you're watching this in the future, thank you so much. And if you've got any questions for myself or for Kerry, just get in touch. So
Thank
thank
you
you, Kerry.
much.
Thank you.